Hello and welcome to Raider HQ After Dark. I'm your host, Raider. And in this video, what I wanted to talk to you about is some procedural ways in which you could be delaying your claim. So I'd like to go through and kind of give you an example of how you claim things could actually delay your claim by 30 days. And it's a real easy, quick fix. And I'll go through the manual and kind of show you the precedent in the manual of where we have to go back and we have to delay the claim by 30 days typically. And I'll just talk about it. And Luna's just sighing over there because this topic frustrates her because it's kind of a shooting yourself in the foot type situation in which, you don't know not to do this, so you don't know that you're delaying your own claim. So let's go ahead and share the screen. So, and if we can make it work, let's go ahead and increase this. So this is a 526 EZ form. Now I know that you can tell that by right here, you can see it right there. I know that a lot of you do your claims online, but I can't do the claim online, so I have to do it old school. So we're going to teach to the lowest common denominator of if you should. This applies to both the online version and to the actual paper copy. So if you wanted to snail mail this in here, this applies in that respect too. There's going to be a little bit of typing through this, so I do apologize. But let's say that you, okay. So let's say you wanted to claim these three things, right? You've never claimed them before. So you claim that you have a scar, happened in service, knee pain, treatment in service. Let's say that. And then let's say respiratory condition due to Iraq service. Okay. I see this a lot, right? So I see this particular kind of setup a lot where the veteran doesn't fully understand what explicitly, like what this means right here. Okay. And why this can be limiting. So, the thing that I wanted to point out to you that's the most important thing that we're talking about today is that the current disabilities are explicitly claimed in a way that there's no confusion about them. Okay. So, a scar can be a little bit confusing. Okay. Because you need to tell us where it is. So, if it's on the elbow, right, or on the head. Now, why does that matter? Because it matters because there's disfigurement on the head versus scars on the body. And the crystal ball is on layaway as the rater. So I can't interpret if we're addressing the scar that you intended for us to address. You might have multiple scars on your body. Some of them might not be related to service, you know? So if you can follow that logic, that's why we need to do what we call clarifying the contention. So if you are not diligent in making sure that you clarify the contention to where it's easy to understand and not hard, it's hard to misinterpret it, then you're doing yourself a favor. Now, I'll come back to this page right here, but this is the manual reference of 523A1H, clarifying the issues of a claim. And it specifically demands, now this is for the VSR and for the rater. So whenever the disability claimed is not clearly identified, ensure that the claim clarification procedures outlined in this manual reference right here have been followed and documented prior to issuing a rating decision. So I'm going to just be honest with you guys and tell you that a lot of the times this doesn't happen by the VSR. Now, typically, what can happen, there's two different stages of this where this can become a problem. The first stage is with the VSR in the development side. So, what's supposed to happen is, let's say that you submit knee pain, right? And we do not know if it's left knee or right knee. That matters because it's going to matter for the examiner to determine which knee that they're going to be reviewing. So if you don't clarify this, then it falls upon the VSR, who is supposed to give you they're supposed to follow this checklist right here when they clarify the issue. So the VSR, and this is a good time to talk about knee pain. So the veteran files a claim for compensation for knee disability, but does not specify whether it's the right or left knee. We have to clarify that. That's a duty to assist. So that way we make sure that number one, we're not adjudicating something that shouldn't be adjudicated. So if you were intended to claim your right knee, but we accidentally thought it was your left knee, then we didn't do the duty to assist, number one, to directly address the right knee, and we erroneously adjudicated the wrong knee, which we're not supposed to do. So that's why this step is very important. So, is the claim substantially complete? So, do you have the signature? Do you satisfy all the requirements for this to be a claim? If yes, then we go to the next step. If not, then the VSR is supposed to go back and contact you to kind of clarify or get all the missing information so that way you can have a substantially complete claim. So if that is true, if the only thing that we're missing is you forgot, like you didn't know to clarify which knee it was, or you didn't know to clarify that the scar was on your head, your arm, your back, whatever, or you didn't know to clarify what respiratory condition, because the other reason why this is important is because this could be the lung DBQ or it could be the sinuses DBQ. We need to clarify this specific contention to know which DBQ to send to the doctor. If we can't, it raises a dilemma for the VSR when they try to order the exam. And it also, like, let's say that the VSR guesses and it moves on to the rater after the exam is finished. Well, as the adjudicator, as the person doing the claim, how certain am I that you meant sinuses and you didn't mean lungs? Okay, so if I'm not certain of that factoid, you know, then I have to defer it back. And we'll get back to that. But so the VSR is supposed to go through here and they're supposed to contact the claimant or the authorized representative. So if you have a what we call a power of attorney, so a VSO that is representing your claim, the VSR is supposed to try to contact you and the VSO. So that way we kind of double tap on it to clarify what the condition is. Okay. We are supposed to do this by telephone for you. Now, a lot of VSRs don't like to do this because we had a historical process in which they would send you a letter and that letter would be a 30-day delay. A lot of veterans like to do that because they do get points for making telephone calls, but they also get points for sending letters. So you'll get some older, more seasoned, and I don't want to say more seasoned, but they've just been sitting in the chair a little bit longer, VSRs who like to send the letters. Some VSRs do not like to talk to veterans. I don't know why. Obviously, it's like veterans like to ask questions like what's going on with my claim, stuff that they can't answer, but they're still supposed to be calling you. And if they can't get in touch with you, then they should be sending a letter. But they're also supposed to be sending an encrypted email to the representative, to the VSO or the accredited claims agent or the accredited attorney, whoever is officially representing them, and requesting for the document information by telephone. So there's an entire process for this. So as you can see, this might delay the claim by a day or so. A telephone call, obviously same day, not a big deal. But it's when they can't get in touch with anybody, or if the VSR does the wrong thing and either they don't even try to clarify the condition, or if they're old school and they want to send a letter, that letter puts a 30-day suspense on it. So whenever I was talking about there's two separate delays that can happen, I'm just talking about the VSR delay right now. So, and then we place a copy of any correspondence in the claims folder so that way it can be seen. Hopefully, and the reason why we do this is number one, to track the development, to track that we tried. Number two, it's also meant to allow the authorized representative, if they're keeping tabs on the claim, to go in and look to say, hey, look, we tried to contact you, evidenced by this right here. So that's what this can delay your claim. So it can delay your claim by a day, but typically, from what I've seen, you'll have, if the veterans, for whatever reason, it's hit or miss whether or not they'll answer the calls from the VA, right? Because you'll get we have this soft phone thing where it does a generic number. It doesn't actually say like the benefits administration. You just think it's another VHA call or something. So a lot of the time veterans don't answer. And all the VSR has to do is make two attempts to call. And they also have to make the attempt to send the encrypted email to the person. But what happens is, let's say the VSR cannot get in touch with the claimant and they sent the email. Well, the VSR is not going to hold on to this claim. What they're typically going to do is if they've tried every avenue and they've documented it, then they're going to establish what is known as a tracked item. And that tracked item, you know, can be set for as many days as they want to give the authorized representative time to get with the claimant, give them time or the veteran. When they say claimant, they mean veteran, and give both of them time to get their ducks in a row as to, okay, what does your scar mean? Where's your scar? Which knee are you talking about? What respiratory condition were you trying to claim? What were you trying to do? So they'll put historically, whenever I was a VSR, I would put a 7-day tracked item on there. So you've already, by not front loading this to be as complete and specific as it humanly can be, you're delaying your claim by 7 days typically. Now, if they sent out a letter, 30 days. And that's just on the VSR side. Okay. So let's say that the VSR misses it. They don't even know, they don't catch it. They just send you for exams. You get exams. Well, it's still going to, when it comes to the rater side of the fence, the rater has to go back and see, clarify. We've got to clarify the issue, or else the rater can get an error. Because how certain were you that it was the left knee and not the right knee that they were trying to claim? Now, could the rater reach out to the veteran? Yes. Do they? Depends on the rater. Now, I love to talk to veterans, so I don't mind doing it. But when I don't have any statistics to back this up, but it is more likely that the rater will defer that condition back. So if you had all three of these is all that you claimed, and let's say that it's written as it is, scar on the head would meet criteria. There's no need to clarify this. If it was just scar, that would need to go back. But let's say it's scar on the head, on arm. Let's just say it's scar on arm. The rater could technically rate this claim because there's no need to clarify the issue because it's clear. However, the knee pain and the respiratory condition would need to go back, be deferred back if they don't want to call, and they don't have to call. Let's be clear. They can defer these two back to have clarification done by the VSR. So this can actually defer your claim even more because once the rater, what'll happen is the rater will rate this and they'll do what is known as a partial rating. So the scar will get adjudicated. It'll go to the authorizer, and the authorizer will send that out to you. However, these two conditions will get deferred and create the partial rating, in which this goes back to the national work queue, sits in the national work queue until it's assigned to somebody, and then that somebody then has to go through and start these steps to clarify the issues. So you have compounded delay from the deferral, and then you have what I would say is the original delay for the development to clarify the issues. So the moral of the story here is to honestly be as specific as you can with how you claim things. And this goes across the board. All of these should be as specific as possible. It should be something like left knee pain. That fixes, there's no need to clarify the knee now. Okay. Now, respiratory condition, I have said this until I'm blue in the face. Never use the word condition because it doesn't satisfy element one for any theory. Respiratory condition doesn't make any sense to us. You need to say what it is. I have, and the good rule of thumb is to, if you're diagnosed for something like asthma, also give a symptom with it, whatever's true for you, right? And the reason why you want to do that is because let's say that the asthma is on private treatment records, and let's say the VA can't get those treatment records. Well, if you can't prove that you have the diagnosis of asthma, if you didn't have this portion of it, you wouldn't get an exam because you don't meet criteria for an exam. So I know I'm going kind of weird with this, but if you said that you had asthma with shortness of breath, it would pass the clarified issue. Like, it wouldn't need to be clarified because it's clear what you're trying to claim. There's no ambiguity here, right? And we know which DBQ to use because the respiratory system is a great example of there's multiple DBQs that can apply. The same is true with the digestive system. There's multiple DBQs that could apply. That's another reason why, like, if they say mental health, there's two different DBQs for that. There's PTSD and there's the mental health DBQ. It creates a problem in the system when we don't know which DBQ we're doing. But we still have and we still are required to clarify any issue. But this can delay your claim. And it can, it can delay your claim at the rater level, which compounds things because then you have rater delays and then you have the normal VSR delays, or you have the normal VSR delays, time delays. So this can delay your claim. And if you're especially in a hurry to have your claim adjudicated, make sure that you are doing the right thing, especially now in this environment with the government shutdown and people being a little bit distracted. You want to make sure that you are front loading your claims as perfectly as you humanly can. So that way delays don't happen, because the moment that delays start happening and the moment that, like, there's any kind of ambiguity, it opens the door to potential errors, misunderstandings. Okay. And you don't want that because misunderstandings on claims typically do not go in the veteran's favor. Let's just be clear about that. That is a truth. That is a fact. Because, if they misunderstood what you were talking about, even if they granted it, the misunderstanding, it might not be warranted. So this is just kind of a short video. Well, maybe not short, but a kind of off the cuff video based upon a conversation I was having with somebody about how it's easy, like, why is my claim bouncing back and forth between these different things? And why is the VA trying to contact me? Well, you can stave off some of those self-inflicted wounds of having your claim bounce between I think they were saying step 5 and step 3. I don't know anything about the steps. The steps are a fantasy thing that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't line up with the internal process. I've said that 1,000 times. So anytime I say the steps, I will get the steps wrong. I guess that's my disclaimer. I will not say the steps right. But the idea is it's bouncing from the rater back to the VSR for some kind of development action. This is one of the most common ones. So please keep that in mind. And this is just kind of I'm not really, we're not saving the world with this one, but it's definitely a how to prevent your claim from being delayed. But anyway, that's about all I got for you guys today. Thank you, and Raider out.